Did you know that nearly 24,000 fishermen around the world die on fishing boats each year? This number is 10 times higher than in commercial shipping and passenger transport, making fishing one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet. However, despite the rough seas and lurking dangers, brave fishermen still go out to sea day and night, bringing back millions of tons of fresh seafood. In today's video, we will go to the largest fishing grounds in the world to discover how humans conquered the sea. First, let's start with a familiar seafood that has immense commercial value: shrimp. More than 5 billion shrimp are consumed each year, and in 2024 alone, the global shrimp market reached a volume of 8.08 million tons. The US is currently one of the top 3 shrimp markets in the world by value. In Louisiana, shrimp are mainly caught by trawling. The boat moves at a slow speed at around 1.7 to 2.3 miles per hour, dragging a net along the seabed. The shrimp that come into contact with the net are gathered up. When the trawling time is over, the fishermen slowly retrieve the net, pulling in the lines, the net doors, and finally the entire heavy catch. Right on the boat, the shrimp are sorted and pre-processed to maintain their freshness. However, catching shrimp by trawling is controversial. These nets not only catch shrimp, but many other creatures. Most of these creatures are often dead or dying and are thrown back into the sea after being brought on board. Statistics show that for every pound of shrimp harvested, more than 4 pounds of non-target marine life are discarded, leading to waste and ecological imbalance. Despite this, in many fishing grounds, this method remains popular due to its high productivity. Meanwhile, in the Mekong Delta area of Vietnam, many fishermen still maintain traditional fishing methods in coastal areas such as lagoons, ponds, and shrimp farms. They wade into the mud, deep under the mud layer, to catch each shrimp by hand. People here often invite friends or family members to go shrimping together, making the work process much more enjoyable. In some localities, this activity has even become a festival, where people wade into the mud together to catch shrimp and fish in a bustling atmosphere. Although this method is time-consuming and labour-intensive, it is safer than fishing at sea, and it is environmentally friendly too, maintaining the natural balance of the coastal ecosystem. Our next destination is Indonesia, where squid fishing has become the livelihood for thousands of coastal families. Squid often appear near piers, docks, or areas with a lot of seaweed and sea grass. They are especially attracted to light, so fishing trips only take place after dark. On a commercial scale, most of the squid in Indonesia is harvested using an automatic system. Fishermen here use artificial lures that look like baby squid and other marine creatures to attract squid. The squid traps are strung together along a line and then dropped into the sea. When night falls, the boat turns on its high-powered LED lighting system, luring the squid to swim and then biting the traps hanging in the water column. Immediately after, the spinning reels on the boat continuously pull the squid up. Fishermen on the boat just have to harvest and put the squid into storage baskets. Thanks to this system, they can catch more squid and reduce manual labour compared to traditional fishing methods. However, squid production in many areas of Indonesia is declining. Many fishermen believe that the main cause comes from tin mining activities, along with unpredictable weather. On average, Indonesia is hit by around 10 tropical storms each year, which directly affect the fishing industry. In addition, in recent years, the selling price of squid has not been very high, only around $10 for every 4 pounds. This is not enough to cover the operating costs of the boat. As a result, many boat owners often suffer losses, forcing them to borrow money to have capital to go out to sea the next day. When seafood becomes scarce in local waters, they are forced to venture further east. These trips often take place in groups of 20 to 30 boats. Travelling in a team not only helps them increase their chances of finding a large school of squid, but it is also a safety measure. If a boat has an engine problem, there will always be another boat nearby to provide some timely assistance, helping everyone to return safely. Leaving the tropical waters of Indonesia, we continue our journey to the southern US, to the state of Louisiana, which is famous for its crawfish. With more than 1,000 fishermen and over 1,300 crawfish farmers, Louisiana leads production in the US of this shrimp. This industry brings in more than $300 million to the state economy each year. Crawfish in Louisiana are usually caught in spring and summer. Fishermen use steel mesh traps placed in areas with many red crawfish, such as drainage canals, flooded marshes, or rice fields. Sometimes they also use dip nets to harvest faster. The traps are checked regularly, almost every day, to harvest as many crawfish as possible. As soon as the crawfish are caught, the clock starts ticking. If left out in the sun for too long, the high temperature can kill the crawfish, causing the meat to become mushy, lose its flavour, and be inedible. Therefore, in the summer, fishermen have to put them in cold storage within 3 hours and sell them quickly. Every year, Louisiana supplies around 100 to 120 million pounds of crawfish. Unfortunately, in the 2024 season, the state's crawfish production decreased by 90% due to the effects of extreme weather. In 2023, drought and heat waves killed crawfish in large numbers. In 2024, a cold spell and late rains forced many farmers to abandon their crops. It is estimated that the state needs around 1.5 billion pounds of adult crawfish to restore its lost population. This disaster is expected to affect many subsequent seasons, threatening the livelihoods of thousands of families. Our next destination is Alaska. The fishing industry plays an important role in the local economy, accounting for nearly half of the private sector jobs in the state. Among them, salmon is the pride of Alaska. The last frontier state provides up to 95% of the salmon production for the entire US. The fishing season begins when schools of salmon gather near estuaries, preparing their upstream spawning journey. The most common method of catching salmon in Alaska today is seine netting. The boat quickly pulls the net to surround the schools of fish. and it only takes around 10 to 20 minutes to complete, depending on the weather and the size of the school. When the net is closed, fishermen pull the ropes at the bottom to block the escape route, then work together to bring the catch of salmon onto the boat. Thanks to this method, in just one trip out to sea, they can harvest tons of salmon. After the net is put onto the boat, the salmon are put into cold seawater tanks or ice tanks to maintain absolute freshness before docking. However, the commercial salmon fishing industry is not for the faint of heart. Not everyone has the strength to pull nets weighing hundreds of pounds, especially on stormy days with big waves and strong winds. This job becomes even more difficult in winter, when the temperature at sea is extremely low, only around 41 to negative 28.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Fishermen not only have to endure the biting cold, but also have to move carefully on the frozen deck. Every year, the number of deaths from fishing accounts for about 1/3 of all occupational deaths in Alaska. Leaving icy Alaska, we will go to warmer waters to see how fishermen catch tuna. This is one of the most expensive seafoods in the world, nicknamed the blue gold of the ocean, with a selling price that can reach $40 per pound. In 2024, global tuna production is estimated to reach around 6.88 million tonnes. Tuna are harvested using various methods, from automatic longlines to seine nets. However, the traditional method that is still favoured by many fishermen is rod and reel fishing. With this method, they often attach artificial lures to the fishing rod so that they can fish continuously. Fishermen stand or sit on the side of the boat, cast their rods, and use their strength to pull the fish up as soon as they bite. Then the tuna are thrown directly into the boat's hold. The fishermen continue to work until they reach the desired catch. This seemingly simple job requires persistence, as the fisherman has to stay in the same position for hours, repeating the same action in the sun, wind, and waves. But in return, the income from this job is rather attractive. In the US, the average annual salary of a tuna fisherman can be as high as $85,000. After many hours at sea, the boat docks. The tuna are sold at large fish markets or transferred to processing plants. Here they are cut, filleted, packaged or processed into products such as canned tuna, frozen fillets and more. From the cold waters of Alaska to the lagoons of the Mekong Delta of Vietnam, each catch of shrimp, squid or fish is the result of the resilience and efforts of fishermen. But besides the economic value, the sustainability of fishing is also something that cannot be ignored. What do you think? Should we prioritize modern technology to meet global demand or preserve traditional methods for the environment and future generations? Please share your opinion in the comments section below. Did you know there's a manual labour job where you can earn between $150,000 and $170,000 in just a few weeks? That's the salary of a fishing boat captain. With expensive seafood like the Chesapeake Bay blue crab or the Hokkaido king crab, this number can soar even higher. On average, professional crab fishermen can pocket up to $79,000 per year, much higher than the average American salary of $60,000. But behind that dream income are days and nights of hard work, battling rough seas, freezing temperatures, and constant danger. In today's video, we'll follow fishermen on their journey to hunt the most valuable seafood on the planet. The Chesapeake Bay, the largest estuary in the US and the third largest in the world, is the cradle of the blue crab fishing industry. The busiest fishing seasons run from September to November, when crabs store fat to survive the winter, giving them a rich flavour and a distinctive golden butter inside their shells. Crab prices can range from $4 to $16 per crab, or $30 to $140 a dozen, making each trip out to sea significantly profitable. On a crabbing boat, a crew member can operate up to 1,500 crab pots. These pots are baited with chicken necks or menhaden. The pots are connected in chains of 25, with hulk at both ends. Upon reaching the location, they drop each chain into the sea at a reasonable distance to catch as many crabs as possible. After waiting for the crabs to enter the traps, a crew member uses a hook to pull up the hulk, attaching the rope to a winch to bring each pot onto the deck. On average, the boat processes around 500 pots a day, equivalent to around 20 trap chains. When a pot comes up, one person shakes it to drop the crabs into a container, while another sorts them, keeping only those that are larger than 5 inches. The rest are released back into the sea. This job requires endurance, toughness, and a steel will. On deck, they have almost no time to rest, constantly dropping and pulling traps from early morning until dark. In this profession, crabs wait for no one, and missing even one day means the fattest catch will fall to a rival. However, in 2024, the blue crab harvest in Chesapeake only reached 42.5 million pounds, much lower than the average of 59 million pounds. One of the reasons is pollution. It is often joked that if your wedding ring falls down a sewer in southern New York, it will eventually float past Baltimore. This pollution not only creates oxygen-depleted dead zones, but also shrinks the area of seagrass beds where juvenile crabs shelter and feed. Furthermore, invasive predators like the blue catfish have increased, causing a sharp decline in the crab population. A 2025 survey estimated the Chesapeake Bay blue crab population to be only 238 million crabs, the second lowest level in history, pushing the blue crab fishing industry into a difficult phase. Next, we will follow the journey of catching king crabs in Hokkaido. They live in the freezing cold waters north of this region. Unlike Alaskan fishermen who typically use pot traps, Japan has many complex regulations related to the use of nets and traps. Therefore, to avoid trouble, fishermen here mainly catch king crabs using the long line method. On the long line, multiple hooks are baited with food that king crabs love, such as earthworms or herring. They then drop the line to the bottom of the ocean at a depth of around 600 feet, where the king crabs reside. After a waiting period, the line is pulled up, and the hooked crabs are brought immediately onto the boat. Catching king crabs in Hokkaido is not easy. The fishing season falls in winter from November to February, when strong winds and rough seas often make it difficult for the boat to go out, and there are only a few favourable days of work. Additionally, large waves and low temperatures make working in these deep waters even more dangerous. Once brought on deck, the king crabs are carefully sorted, placed in water tanks to keep them fresh, and then transported to port. Here they are sold to traders or restaurant owners at a high price of around $30 to $60 a pound. Many restaurants in Hokkaido are famous for dishes made from king crabs, from steaming and grilling to hot pot. However, a portion of king crab harvest is also exported abroad, turning this seafood into a culinary symbol of Japan's northernmost region. The next product we're talking about today is halibut. In 2025, the total allowable catch of halibut along the entire coast is approximately 29.72 million pounds. This is a large species of fish. Some individuals can be longer than 2 meters and weigh several hundred pounds. The period from June to September is the most ideal time to catch this type of fish. To hunt this species, fishermen often prepare bait that halibut love, such as herring, squid, octopus, or salmon belly. Then fishermen drop the hooks all the way to the ocean floor, ranging from 20 to 600 feet, or in areas with strong currents where halibut often reside. The most difficult part of halibut fishing is the waiting period, because its bite can sometimes be as light as a small fish nibbling on the bait and can last 15 to 20 minutes. When the fisherman feels the fish has taken the bait firmly, he will jerk the rod 3 to 4 times to secure the hook and begin the journey of pulling in the fish. This can weigh tens or even hundreds of pounds. Although the fishing process is not too difficult, the distribution of halibut has faced many problems in recent years. The forecast for the Pacific halibut supply in 2025 will likely decrease by around 5.5 million pounds compared to the previous year's already low commercial catch, down to around 21.3 million pounds. The main cause comes from tariff disputes between the US and Canada, which disrupts the supply chain and causes prices to fluctuate sharply. After the hunt for 100-pound halibut, a fisherman's journey at sea is not over. One of the next important targets is squid, a high-value seafood with a global production exceeding 2 million tons a year. To catch squid, fishermen often have to travel far offshore to deep sea areas where they live. Fishing activities mainly take place at night, where squids leave their hiding places to hunt for food and are attracted to the lights of the boats. Before dropping the nets, fishermen use modern detection equipment like radar to accurately locate the squid school. Once the location is confirmed, they drop the nets from the back of the boat. After some time, the entire crew works together to pull up the nets. This is a job that requires crew members to have great strength and a synchronized rhythm. Some boats are equipped with an automatic winch to assist, making the net retrieval faster and safer in rough conditions. The squid brought back on deck will be sorted by size and quality on the spot. To maintain freshness, boats will always carry large ice chests or specialised refrigeration systems. When the boat docks at the port, most of the catch will be transferred to processing plants, where the squid is processed and distributed to the market. Although catching squid with nets helps to harvest faster, it also causes much controversy. The netting system can disturb the seabed, affecting the organisms living there and even releasing carbon from long-term sediments. Besides squid, grouper is also another valuable seafood. On the market, just 1 pound of grouper can be sold for $2.50 to $15.40 a pound. Early morning or late afternoon in spring is the most ideal time to fish, when the fish have just finished their breeding season. They often hide in coral reefs, rock formations, shipwrecks, or deep ledges on the seabed. To get to the grouper, fishermen use bottom fishing techniques. They attach live bait like shrimp, crab, or needlefish to the hook and sink them to the bottom of the sea. When they feel a bite, they immediately give a slight tug or reel in the line quickly to secure the hook in the fish's mouth. Large groupers, when sensing danger, will struggle violently, but they cannot escape the force from the fisherman's line. Immediately after being pulled onto the boat, the grouper is iced to maintain its freshness. When the boat docks, the fish will be cleaned, scaled, gutted, and prepared for distribution to the market. In addition to methods like fishing with hooks or nets, people also hunt fish with spears. This is one of the oldest fishing methods in the world. Over time, spearfishing has become an extreme sport, attracting many ocean lovers to participate. Instead of crude spears of old, they use modern spear guns. The hunter wears specialized diving gear, then dives deep into the clear water before firing the spear at the target. This technique requires calmness, the ability to hold one's breath for a long time, and accurate aiming skills, because with just a moment's delay, the fish will disappear into the water. Yes! Let's watch some impressive spearfishing moments. It can be seen that each type of seafood requires unique techniques to catch. But regardless of the method, fishermen aim for sustainability, protecting aquatic resources for future generations. What do you think they could do better to protect these resources in the future? This video ends here. Thanks for watching. Goodbye and see you in the next video on this channel.